I'm going to show you a game where Bobby Fischer loses in just 13 moves. Wow, that's a rarity. So this was played in a simultaneous display in 1964 in San Francisco, and over the past few videos we've been exploring this move knight g5 and how Fischer played it. And this game, he gets caught out really badly in one of these very, very complex lines. The whole of this complex of variations is incredibly complicated, and if you play it with white, you simply have to know it backwards. I'm going to actually be looking at this in one of my Patreon opening surveys. In fact, a couple of them. So if you're interested in that, then do sign up. So knight d4. So in previous videos, we've looked at knight a5. That was the Fischer-Bisgeier game. And we've also looked at knight d5, which is pretty bad. Remember, Fischer's preferred move was d4 there. And this time, Fischer's opponent, Robert Berger, in this simul, played knight d4. Now, this probably isn't very good, but you have to know this so well with white. Now, Fischer gets it right. He plays c3. If the knight falls back, then this is just better for white. So b5, this is the tricky move. Now, it's not so good to take this. That bishop is very important. But bishop f1 is the correct move. Now, if you don't know the theory to this, then, you know, are you going to find c3 and bishop f1 over the board? It is definitely the best move. And yes, I've checked this with decent computers. And they agree with the centuries-old theory that bishop f1 is correct. It means if this knight moves, then the bishop can just fly back and take the pawn. So knight takes d5. Pawn takes knight. And queen takes g5. So material is still level. Well, it was before this. Bishop takes b5 check. So this is the problem. This displaces black's king, and king d8 is the best move here. Well, that shows that things really aren't so great for black in this variation, but it's still very tricky. Now, Fischer plays queen f3 here. Actually, the most accurate move is castle's king side. Now, I won't go into that here, but yeah, it is the most accurate move. But anyway, Fischer played queen f3. Now, I'll come back to this position because black didn't play very accurately here, but bishop b7 and castles and e takes d4. Now, white is still better in this position if white plays d3. But Fischer was obviously in a grabby mood, and he played queen takes pawn. Well, you know, if you're flying around playing a simul exhibition, and you can take a pawn and threaten a mate in one, well, it's a tempting move, isn't it? Fischer did like his material, but this is a blunder. Black played knight f6, threatening queen takes pawn, and after f3, well, black has a very pleasant choice here. You could just take the bishop. But even stronger is bishop d5, trapping white's queen. That is game over. There's no way back. If d3, attacking here, well, the queen just steps aside. The queen is still trapped. So after bishop d5, Fischer resigned after just 13 moves. Wow. Now, I'd like to go back and show you a couple of alternatives after queen f3. In fact, after queen f3, the best move is e takes d4. And then after bishop c6, this is very tricky, knight b4 takes check. and the queen could be taken. Now this is still quite a tricky position. But yeah, basically black should go in for this, but very, very difficult position. Fischer, in another game from a simul in Montreal in 1964, where he obviously enjoyed playing this knight g5 stuff in simuls, his opponent played e4. Also a very interesting move. Fischer took, and then castled. Bishop b7. Well, these pieces are quite menacing. And here, rook e1 is the best move, threatening a mate. And actually after this, black has problems defending against that. If c6, then the bishop just comes back to f1, and with the bishop blocked, and the bishop defending g2, fat white is very safe there and has a 2-pawn advantage. But Fischer played d3. Now, here is where I'd like you to think. Fischer's opponent got it wrong. But what is black's best response after d3? This is very, very tricky. In a way, I'm quite surprised that Fischer played like this in simuls. I mean, maybe it's worth it because he got a few quick knockouts, and of course that is very very beneficial when you're playing in a simul and you just want to clear the wood as quickly as possible. You want to speed things up, but there is a danger that you can overlook tactics like this. So black to play has a really strong move. Now, in the game, knight f4 was played, but Fischer won very quickly, actually very nicely, with bishop takes. So bishop takes queen, bishop takes queen. Now a very nice move, d5. So that blocks the attack. And if bishop takes pawn, queen d4 is a really strong move, actually, threatening this kind of thing. And black's king is going to suffer. Black played queen takes b2, exchange of bishops, rook e1, watch out for a big check, so queen f6, knight c3, and let me see, Fischer is a pawn up and the king is in a terrible spot, and the game finished quite quickly actually. Nice finish, queen a5 check, rook can't step up because white wins a rook, and after this queen a4, that's a very sudden finish actually, very nice. So if the king steps back, then rook takes rook. And obviously that one is pretty bad too, after rook takes rook, or knight b5 check actually. But let's come back to this position. Instead of knight f4, black has a fantastic attacking move. Bishop takes h2 check. And after king takes, knight f4. This is beautiful stuff. I mean, I think it's very, very difficult to see. So if queen takes bishop, then we've got a very nice checkmate here. Knight e2. And in the game, just to mention, queen takes knight allows queen takes g2. In the game, sorry, not in the game. This is the best move. Bishop takes f4. Queen check. So this wins the queen. And then that bishop is swiped. I mean, it would have been very interesting to see Fischer play this position because, yeah, white has lost the queen and is worse, but there's still a fair bit of compensation there. You know, there's a nice attack coming. Yeah, it would have been very interesting to see how Fischer handled that one. Black should be better, but it's tricky. Well, what's the conclusion with all of this? If you play knight g5, you better know it backwards, because moves like this, objectively not very good, but actually, as we've seen, there are pitfalls here that even the greatest can fall into, well, certainly in a simul anyway. Hope you enjoyed that. As I said before, if you're interested in this variation, I'm going to be doing a couple of opening surveys on Patreon. So if you want to support the channel, if you want to investigate this, then do check out patreon.com/PowerPlayChess. You'll find the link down there. Do support the channel. Thanks a lot.